Okay, we're going to look at an assembly drawing here, and so we'll take a look at some of the different features and kind of how an assembly drawing works. So right here, first of all, we have what's called a standard assembly view. The standard assembly basically just shows the parts as they would be assembled together. Over here we have what's called an exploded assembly view. So the difference between the standard and an exploded assembly view is obviously in the exploded view, the parts are not together, all right? And so the exploded view shows how the parts would go together and gives it gives the person reading the print a clear understanding of that. A couple of things to point out with both of these views. You can have assembly views be front, right, left, just like you would a traditional multi-view drawing. But the case with these assembly views, if they're isometric, they need to be shaded. So most of the simple assembly views that we're going to be looking at here are these small assemblies with not a ton of parts. Those assemblies are going to need to be shaded. These lines right here that are located in the exploded assembly view are called explode lines. Explode lines help you show how the parts are going to go together. And so we should always view explode lines, or we should show them when it helps with understanding. So what I mean by that, when it helps with understanding, if you can see that this line goes directly into that hole, it's very clear that this bolt goes into that hole. And so if it's helping you clarify where the parts are supposed to go, you should always show an explode line. This table up here is called a bill of materials. And so I'll just make a line. This is a bill of materials. So what a bill of materials does is it gives you all of the details that you need in an assembly drawing. And so for instance, on this assembly drawing, we have an item number that corresponds with something on our drawing called a call out. And so this right here, this little ballooned bubble is called a call out. And this number inside of that call out is the item number. All right, so each one of these item numbers corresponds with the numbers on the assembly. Quantity is the number of times that part comes up in the assembly. And so, for instance, this bracket piece, there's only one of them, but the hex head bolt, there are 4 of them in the assembly. The next item on our bill of materials is a part number, and so I'm going to give you a naming system for that. The first 2 initials of the part number should always be the project you're working on. And so in this case, it's an assembly practice. All right, so that's why it says AP. And then you have 001. So 1 would be the part number here for the call out for this part, which is the bracket. And so we put 2 zeros in front of it. Some assemblies could have a lot of parts, and so that's a typical way you would see that. Over here we have a description box that gives us the description of every part, and we've also included a material box that gives us the materials. On different assembly drawings, you could have all kinds of other information within that bill of materials. You could have vendors, you could have the costs of the part, the vendor for where the part's going to be purchased from. There's a whole lot of other information that could be included. All right, but with our standard assembly drawings, these are the 5 or so categories that we'll ask for within your assemblies. And so that's the basic of an assembly drawing.